Bricks and Minifigs is your one-stop shop for all things LEGO. Hit the link below to find a store near you.
Hi there, my name is Nicholas Pienczak, aka Amateur Builder, and this is my Battle of Hogwarts mock and great haul.
Yeah, both very impressive builds. So we'll start with the big battle over here. Tell us about kind of the story and what's going on here, and then we'll dive into some of the details.
Yeah, so 6 years ago, I thought to do a Hogwarts mock, essentially, after LEGO, reintroduced the LEGO series, the LEGO theme, and I was like, let's do it. Let's make iconic scenes. So originally, I knew I had to do a part of the castle, and the courtyard and Great Hall are such iconic moments. So 2 years ago, this was actually a lot smaller. So it was 2x3 gray base plates, and every year I like to make it bigger and better and more accurate to the film. So last year I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do the Battle of Hogwarts, and this is it. This is my flagship after 6 years of hard work.
Yeah, and it certainly shows how much effort you've put in here, because not only do you have kind of all the individual characters laid out, but just the buildings and the walls themselves are looking very impressive. So maybe start with the front of the build and take us through some of the architectural elements, and then just kind of the characters here as well.
Yeah, so I knew that I wanted to make it as accurate to the film. So when I was building it, I wanted iconic scenes that they're small, but to a fan, they'll recognize it and they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember this. So when the movie starts the battle, the Death Eaters come in flying with their trails of smoke, and one of my favorite scenes is when one of them casts a spell to the statues and it rebounds, killing off one of their teammates. And so I had to recreate that, the dead giants, and then moving up. Obviously, it was a bit harder to, make iconic scenes because everything was happening all at once. So this is a little bit of creative liberty, but the scenes where the camera's tracking Harry, Ron, and Hermione, there's like little scenes across the build. So in the beginning, they come into the castle in this little corridor, and a Death Eater tries to cast a spell at them. They block it by hiding behind the door, and then they recast the spell, killing off the Death Eater. And then they go around this debris, and then they're chased by a giant. So they go underneath, and as you can see, they're being chased by one of the giants right now. And then as they go through the hallways, and over here they find that Ron's ex-girlfriend, Lavender, she's killed by Greyback. And so Hermione casts her spell to essentially kill him and get revenge. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing that really makes this build pop is the lights. So how did you incorporate that into all of these different kind of elements that are firing all over the place?
Yeah, it was definitely a big process. Like, I knew from the beginning I wanted lights. So my last display had lights incorporated, but not like this. So I really, when I started this from scratch, I teared it all down because I already had like the design in my head, and I laid out the lights first of where I would want it popped up, and then I believe I bought every one from Brickling that has the new extension piece that you can attach pieces onto it. I think I have like 60 of them, so I spent like over $60 on that, and it went from there. And I used a bunch of I used brick stuff, and then Light My Bricks to incorporate like all of the colorful lights and everything like that. And it's been a challenging process, but it was well worth it.
Another great element is all of the explosions. So what types of pieces do you use to capture those?
Yeah, so this was actually my first time doing this type of technique. So I remember I was messaging a bunch of colleagues from the LEGO community who I know do like explosions like that. Like, I have a lot of friends from Empire Lug, and I know they have a lot of mocks that incorporate these designs. So I was reaching out, being like, hey, like, do you have any tips and tricks? And I found Axel Droid. He did an amazing Helm's Deep mock where he's currently working on it, and he kind of showed me how how he did it, and I did my own version. And honestly, with the red lights, it just pops, especially right here with the hallway being essentially blown up, and a student is, being blown up in the process, and then over here in the tower. But I would have to say that my over here in these towers, those are by far my favorite explosions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the focus of the build is obviously the battle, but you can still appreciate some of the architecture and
yeah.
elements that you've done here, especially this section over here. So how did you get some of those tricky areas like around the doorway?
Yeah, so luckily it's a lot of research when you're building a mock, especially if you're trying to make it as movie accurate as possible. So luckily I found a website or a guy who had the 3D renders of the entire movie from the Battle of Hogwarts. So they had the blueprints, the 3D renders. So I essentially used that as my, guide to building all of this. Because like I said, I wanted to make it as movie accurate. So a lot of these archways are using the flex tubes. And then all of this is using like jumper plates to make it a lot skinnier. So it's a lot of like playing around with different techniques. And then this one's just a simple one. It's just these pieces are just attached a little bit on the stud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how big is this whole build?
Oh, that's a good question. I know from the width, it's two gray base plates and a 32 plate, and then I want to guess like anywhere from 5 to 6 gray base plates long. Yeah. And then, to fill up all of the scenes, I took a lot of like creative liberties. So like my favorite scene by far is Professor Sprout attacking the Death Eaters with mandrakes. And you can see by their expressions, their ears are, popping from the screeches of the mandrakes. And I feel like everyone can relate to that from the film. So yeah.
And a very unusual technique with Lego is creating rubble like this. Normally you're trying to create these nice, pristine builds. So what do you have to do to make that actually look sort of realistic?
Honestly, that was one of the challenges, because like in the film, there's that iconic scene where, Voldemort's coming up after the battle. Harry's essentially dead. All of the survivors are coming up facing Lord Voldemort, and you can just see the rubble and the destruction that the war or the battle caused. And so I wanted to recreate that, but I was like, how do I do it? So I reached out to some LUG members. I'm like, listen, I need a bunch of 1x1 plates. I need to sprinkle it all over this display. And honestly, it worked out perfectly. And especially there are like hidden lights underneath. And so the technique I used to keep the fire in place was using the net and then squishing translucent pieces in between the net to have that light pop with the flames. And honestly, I'm so happy with how that worked out.
Yeah. So this battle is super impressive, but you have another fantastic build next to this as well. So we'll walk over here now and tell us what this build depicts and what are some of the details here.
Yeah, so this is the Great Hall. As everyone knows who watched the films, this is a very iconic scene that every part of the castle that everybody loves. So 2 years ago, I had it displayed where it was the students eating their breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I had the teacher's table, Dumbledore's podium. But because I was making the Battle of Hogwarts, I had to recreate a scene from Deathly Hallows Part 2. So in the book, the chapter title is called The Sacking of Severus Snape. So that's the title I use to depict this scene. So you can see that Snape is battling against Professor McGonagall, and he's rebounding her spells to kill off the 2 Death Eaters that are accompanying him. And then over here, my favorite part is the Order of the Phoenix, and they're placed exactly how you see in the movie. Like, I took a screen grab and I was like, nope, it has to be perfect. It has to be exactly how it's like in the film. So yeah.
But then there's details on the outside as well. So kind of take us on a bit of a 360 journey if you can now.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the outside, I didn't know what to do, but I know that on the outside there is this like little like outside balcony, if you will, and for sure, I added Doctor Strange. So 2 years ago, it was just him floating on this balcony. But last year, I actually added the portal. And if you remove him, you can actually see there's like a little library scene inside. And honestly, everyone loves it. The kids always are like, why is Doctor Strange there? And I always respond with, hey, it's the multiverse. Like,
He's just out protecting the multiverse.
Exactly. And so as we go over here to the front, this has parts of Order of the Phoenix, and then Deathly Hallows Part 2, because I feel like everyone remembers Umbridge's rules and everything. And we lucked out as Harry Potter fans because Lego came out with a Room of Requirement set, and it had these like proclamation stickers. So I bought a bunch of them, cut them out to size, and I pieced them on the window panes. And then these are the little, spots where all of the soldiers are supposed to be. So originally I was gonna have them, jumping off them, but I had to incorporate them in the Battle of Hogwarts, so that's why they're all lined out in the Battle of Hogwarts. But I had a little scene with Filch and two students attacking some Death Eaters that got through the ranks of the students and teachers protecting the castle. Mm-hmm. And then over here, this is by far my favorite scene with all of the paintings and everything, and then the duel on the staircase between Voldemort and Harry. And there are little Easter eggs that I love incorporating, because like when I first came to Brick World Chicago back in 2018, just seeing all of these amazing displays and then just having those little Easter eggs that aren't even a part of the build, but they're there, and you point them out, and they're like, oh, there's a Star Wars figure or Batman. So I have a bunch of stuff like that. So I have Batman, Pirates of the Caribbean. You can see Gollum in one of the paintings, Chewbacca, a whole bunch of different figures.
Yeah, I love how kind of no matter what direction you look at either of these builds from, there's something that kind of catches your eye and looks super impressive here. So do you have any idea how many pieces are in these builds?
I want to say that in total, there has to be at least 50,000 pieces or over. All of this is tiled, and the amount of 1x1 tiles, the 1x2 tiles on the roofs, especially the 1x1 plates, tan plates. There are like 3 large cups worth of just the 1x1 plates. So I would argue that there's over 50,000. And then especially the base, there are a bunch of pieces to secure the base of both builds to, elevate it.
Yeah. So you've worked on this for a number of years now. Are there plans to continue in the Harry Potter universe or go in a different direction in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely going to keep these. I might retire the Great Hall, but I'm definitely going to elevate the battle. I'm going to add more flickering effects, so you're going to see the explosions flicker some more. I got some great ideas from some people to incorporate flashing lights in the hallways to project onto the battle, so it emulates like all of that spell casting. So during World of Lights, it's going to look even better. But then after that, I have a few Harry Potter ideas, especially a Star Wars idea. Solid Brick Studios, they did a 4x4 Jedi Temple, and I'm a little jealous because that's the size I wanted to do, but because he did it first, I have to beat him. So my plan is to do a 7x7 gray base plate Jedi Temple.
Wow,
Yeah.
Very ambitious.
Yeah, it's gonna be very ambitious. I already have like over 200 of the original 501st figures. Like I want at least 100 just walking up that staircase, because I want that just grand, shot, Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I can't wait to see more from you in the future then. And for people who want to keep up with your work, where do you post your builds online if people want to follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me at amateur.builder. That's my Instagram. I'm hoping to start a presence on YouTube to show more of my displays and yeah, just amateur.builder right now on Instagram.
Perfect. Keep up the great work and can't wait to see more from you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.